What's up everybody, Ninth Jim here, back with another VGC 2020 Pokemon Sword and Shield competitive video with single spotlight. We're talking about Kommo-o today, the dragon fighting Pokemon. Really good Pokemon, has access to a lot of really cool abilities, soundproof and bulletproof, both giving you a wide array of moves that are unaffected. I have them right there. The most popular moves that are in soundproof that are unaffected by soundproof, which is pretty good. A lot of them are pretty solid. Actually, Snarl is really good on things like Arcanine, and Parting Shot isn't super relevant, but it's there. Hyper Voice on Sylveon and Boom Burst on Toxtricity, which we may get to see the G-Max version being legal for competitive use. Maybe. We'll see if we do. Anyway, we're talking about Kommo-o today. So dragon fighting has a lot of resistances, a lot of weaknesses, however, but the resistances is pretty big. So we have fire, water, electric, grass, bug, rock, and dark. All of those are very relevant in the meta, being good resistance switch-ins. Having switch-ins on this Pokemon is really cool because Clangorous Soul is just such a huge move. That is its signature move. It raises all of your stats by one stage, 1%. All of your stats by one stage, and then also gives you also takes 33% of your HP, which is a lot of your HP, I know. But when you partner it with something like Follow Me, and then or in singles, put in really good positioning into something that just resists it, you get a free attack. Clangorous Soul activates your Throat Spray, and this Pokemon is +2 in special attack and +1 in all of its other stats, and it's huge. It's really, really good after that. Actually, an amazing Pokemon. However, we have a lot of weaknesses, like we have Ice, Flying, Psychic, Dragon. All of those are pretty relevant, Ice being a little bit less prevalent in Sable Psychic. However, they're both definitely still here. Psychic on things like Trick Room with Indeedee and Hatterene, even Reuniclus. And then Ice, we have Milotic with Ice Beam, sometimes in Icy Shard, and certain moves like that. And it's definitely relevant. They're all really big. However, Flying and Dragon are really big, especially Flying with all those max airstreams going around. We have things like Charizard, Togekiss, Braviary sending off huge attacks like that, and we have the damage calcs for a lot of things. And Clangorous Soul, we are pretty fast actually at 85 speed. We're outspeeding a lot of random things like the Togekiss, things like the Braviary. A lot of Pokemon like that are going to be sending off things like that. And then we got our Clangorous Soul +1. However, we lose 33% of our health, which is pretty bad. But if we partner with Follow Me like Togekiss or Indeedee, I'm usually going to say to partner with Togekiss just because it's so good in the meta. It's so big. I mean, you see it on 90% of teams, maybe like 75% of teams. Regardless, a huge amount of teams, you'll see Togekiss. And that is also a big problem Pokemon for our Pokemon, since we're 4 times weak to Fairy. Things like Dazzling Gleam that ignore that Follow Me are gonna really threaten this Pokemon, and that's kind of why this Pokemon isn't very high tier, just because of that Dazzling Gleam on the Togekiss being able to just bypass and kill us through our 33% lowered HP. Pretty unfortunate. However, into our stats, so we actually have really good stats across the board. 75 HP is really good, 125 defense is really good, and then special defense 105 is solid. All of these are really good bulk, so we have really solid natural bulk if you put some investments in, which we're not. However, you could build it to be a little bit more bulky, more defensive. You could go into bulk. As far as HP, probably pour into HP, just so that when you Dynamax this Pokemon, it can be a monster. This Pokemon is a good Dynamax target. You won't be Dynamaxing it every game, but when you do, it will be putting in a lot of work, which is pretty interesting and really good for this Pokemon. Since we have such good attack stats as well, we have attack 110 and special attack 100, so you can really choose which way you want to go. You can go with physical or special. We have special because of Throat Spray, and in my opinion, it just has a better move pool. We have things like Flash Cannon, Aura Sphere, Clangorous Souls, or Clanging Souls. I just think that special attack really shines more on this Pokemon, even though the attack stat is a little bit higher. The base attack stat is a little bit higher. And then we also have speed 85, which is a pretty solid mid, a little above average speed. We're on the same speed tier as Duraludon, so that matchup is pretty interesting. We're going to have to speed tie a lot of the time, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is, you know. Anyway, that's about it for the overview. So let's go ahead and jump into the move set. So into the move pool, the build, we have Throat Spray as our item. I talked about this a little bit. Clangorous Soul activates Throat Spray, giving us a +2 in a special attack, and then also a +1 in all of our other stats at the Vice of 33%. Now, the reason this Pokemon is kind of scared right now is because of the Togekiss, Dazzling Gleam, like I mentioned. So that's kind of scaring off this Pokemon. However, if you really build your team to scare off Togekiss or kill Togekiss first, get Kommo-o in while you still have a Togekiss or some form of Follow Me, then you can definitely make this Pokemon shine, which is pretty cool. Into our move set, actually our ability first. So Soundproof gives us immunity to all sound-based moves. So some being Snarl, Parting Shot, Hyper Voice, Boom Burst. That's pretty solid. It's a good ability. You also have access to the ability Bulletproof, which makes you invested by most ball/bomb moves. So things like Sludge Bomb, things like Shadow Ball, things like that don't affect us, which is pretty good. And that's the one we're using in singles, just because I get so Snarl and Hyper Voice both affect both opposing Pokemon, so those are both pretty more relevant in VGC, and they're the most relevant sound-based moves. So we're using the Bulletproof. And anyway, into our move set for this Pokemon. So into our build, into move pools of our build, we have Clangorous Soul, which is the super move. This is our big move that we use at the beginning of every time we bring him out. Usually, you don't always have to. If you're in a position where you have to attack right off the bat, then you do what you gotta do, And then we also have Clanging Souls, which is our Dragon Stab special move. It has 110 base speed, base power, and it also has the unfortunate second effect of lowering our defense. It is what it is. It's 110 base power with, I believe, 100 accuracy, so it's got to have some kind of downfall. You have things like Draco Meteor that just harshly fall your special attack. You can use that move as well, but I really like this Pokemon for the long game since it kind of upgrades all your stats, so you might as well have this guy for a while. We also have Aura Sphere, which is a good stab move for fighting, and we have Flash Cannon, which is our extra move here for spread. You can definitely switch that out with something like Flamethrower. It's the only other special attack I have here and suggested, but we also have some other moves. So if you want to play physical, then you can use a different item instead of the Throat Spray, and you can use a move pool like Close Combat, Dragon Claw, Drain Punch. You even have access to the Iron Defense Body Press gimmick, which is really powerful, especially with Clangorous Soul, increasing our defense. Then Iron Defense, and then Body Press, and that makes your defense really, really huge, which is good. But there's not really any recovery, so maybe if you ran some kind of recovery item, maybe a Pinch Berry, maybe a Citrus, maybe even leftovers. My chest is going crazy. Anyway, yeah, so that's a pretty good move pool for if you want to go physical. You can use 4 out of those 5 moves, which is pretty cool. And then for our stat investment, we have special attack at max and then speed at max as well, so 252 into both of those. And then we also have Timid Nature, giving us plus speed minus attack. Obviously you can change that to Jolly if you play physical offensive, just cause. So I like the Timid. You'll find this Pokemon being modest nature sometimes. However, I think the Pokemon that we outspeed with the nature boost is definitely pretty relevant. We'll talk about that here in speed tiers, and we'll go ahead and jump into the speed tiers in a minute. Actually, we'll talk about our partner Pokemon first. So, some useful partner Pokemon can be Togekiss for the Follow Me, like we talked about briefly. Being able to set up Follow Me, and then Clangorous Soul, being able to get your Pokemon all of your boosts that you need, and then pretty safely, they'll go into the Togekiss, which will suck, but it is what it is. And a lot of the times it's actually pretty interesting because Dragon is super effective against this. So in a lot of times, if they don't expect they have to play around it. So if you if you lead Kommo-o and Togekiss, and your opponent leads like Togekiss Dragapult or something, and they max Dragapult going for a max Wormwind into your Kommo-o, then if you Follow Me, it would not affect. So they have to use something other than that, and that's good. It's a good little thing that you can do. Anyway, we also have Arcanine here just to help with general bulk, having Intimidate, Will-O-Wisp, and Snarl. This is just a general Pokemon that you can put onto most teams. It has access to a lot of really good moves and supporting things for your team. If you run it special, it has that Snarl. If you don't, you still have access to Will-O-Wisp and Intimidate, which is really good. And then we also have Excadrill here. Excadrill covers a lot of our weaknesses. It covers Fairy 4 times. Are 4 times weak to Fairy, and Excadrill just covers that with Iron Head, and that's pretty good. And you can also always Dynamax your Iron Head, or Dynamax your Excadrill for max Steel Spike / max Quake, and make your guys more bulky, as well as doing really good damage, really good coverage to a lot of our weaknesses. Also, Kommo-o covers a lot of our weaknesses from Excadrill, so they just make a pretty good partner, a pretty good lead in general. And for our scary Pokemon, we have Duraludon, which we're on the same speed tier, so we'll speed tie a lot of the time, and it has really good stab dragon moves against us, you know, things like Max Wormwind off of Draco Meteor, doing a lot of damage. And then we also have things like the Mimikyu for Fairy, 4 times effective everything Fairy. Togekiss should be in there too. I forgot to move Togekiss over, but Togekiss is one of the scariest, if not the scariest Pokemon actually, because of Dazzling Gleam getting through the Follow Me. And then we also have Hydreigon, which is very fast. You'll typically see them scarfed, so they will get past us, and it has like a fast Draco Meteor that it can just take your Kommo-o out pretty easily. And then we also have Charizard, which Solar Power Charizard using Air Slash or Max Airstream will kill us, if not do a lot of damage, being really threatening to the Kommo-o. Anyway, that's about it for this slide. We'll go ahead and talk about some speed tiers. So as far as our speed tiers go, we're hitting a pretty solid number. We're here at 150 with Positive Nature, and if you go without that, if you go Modest Nature, you're down at 137. The things we outspeed with that, first off, we speed tie Duraludon. If it's Timid Nature, which it will be most of the time, it'll be max speed Timid Nature, which is like something that we'll want to outspeed, of course. And we also outspeed things like Gyarados, max invested Gyarados, which is good, and max invested Braviary, Chandelure, Togekiss. None of them really, well, like the Braviary and Togekiss obviously threaten us a lot, and that's a big reason why I want to be faster than them, is so that you can get through those Pokemon and break those walls down, which is really good. And the Gyarados is pretty relevant as well, especially since it has access to Max Airstream as well, which is super effective. And then for our other Pokemon that we can't outspeed is things like Excadrill, Max Invested. This you'll see a lot of the time being Mold Breaker. Mold Breaker doesn't really matter for this, but it's pretty, like, fairly fast, and it'll outspeed us, which really sucks. And then we also have things like Pikachu, the G-Max Pikachu being able to outspeed us and paralyze us, which is annoying. And then we also have Mimikyu, which is at 162, being able to kill us pretty easily with Play Rough. So that's about it for our speed tiers. They were really quick. We have damage calcs then as well. So our first one is just Charizard, max Airstream in Sun with Solar Power, doing 188 to 225 to 222%. This is without Dynamax, so you can live this without Dynamax, but this is without Life Orb, so I wouldn't try to challenge Charizard. Charizard should just typically win this matchup, and it also outspeeds us. So that's pretty annoying. And then we also have Togekiss, the Dynamaxed offensive Togekiss. However, this is without invested into special attack. So this is if they invest into speed and attack, or speed and HP, like a weakness policy build. Max Starfall into us does 222 to 262. Now, if they max turn 1, you'll get a little happy if you follow me, because they'll probably not kill your Togekiss because it's most likely bulky. And but more importantly, they won't target down your Kommo-o, which is really fantastic. And then for our other one, we have the other Togekiss one. We have Dazzling Gleam into our +1. So since we outspeed Togekiss, even if it's max speed, then after Soul Boost, we go to we take 33% damage and then go down. So Dazzling Gleam will kill us. Unfortunately, that's hitting into 2 Pokemon. Even at +1, after our 33% damage from the Klinger Soul, it'll kill us. So honestly, you just don't want to challenge Togekiss in general. It'll almost always win that matchup. Next one, we have a lot of boosts, I know, but it's really just one turn. So if you do your Klinger Soul, it activates your Klinger Soul boost and your Throat Spray. So then the next turn we Dynamax it with those boosts still there, the Klinger Soul boost and the Throat Spray boost. We'll be doing 96 to 113% of a Duraludon Dynamaxed, doing 81%, or an 81% chance to OHKO, which I think is a pretty reliable chance and something that I would typically do. I think that's like a big part of the calculation, is to be able to do that. So yeah, that's pretty good. And that's actually into a 252 HP Duraludon, which you won't see all the time anyway. Which is like a good calc to know. Next we have our Soul Boosted Throat Spray Dynamaxed Aura Sphere. That's Aura Sphere. That should be max. Actually, so yeah, that'll have a guaranteed chance to OHKO. This is an Aura Sphere. That's an incorrect calc. My bad. It should be max Knuckle since we're Dynamaxed. But yeah, so that just means we'll kill it with Dynamax attacks. So that's pretty good. And then we also, for our last one, we have Hydreigon Draco Meteor. This is just base Hydreigon into base Kommo-o. No buffs. It does 136 to 162%. After Clangerous Soul, it will not kill us? Or it will? Actually, hold on. Do I still have that open? I do, actually. So, +1. It's still going to kill 56% of the time. So it's something that I wouldn't recommend challenging. However, if you have the Follow Me Togekiss and they go for a Draco Meteor, then it will have that interaction we briefly talked about where it'll just be unaffected, which is good. Anyway, on to our last slide, which is the Single Spotlight. So this Pokemon's actually really sweet in singles. It does a very similar thing here, just being the Clangerous Soul upgrade get huge, and then Clanging Scales, Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, all of that. So it's almost identical build wise. We just have it switched to Bulletproof instead of Soundproof, since like I said, Soundproofs, the more relevant sound moves are only really used in VGC instead of double in singles. So we're using Bulletproof, and yeah, other than that, the build is just about the same. We switched Aura Sphere for Flamethrower in here just to have more coverage against things like the Steel type Pokemon, which that's not right. Maybe things like Ferrothorn and Grass type Pokemon in general and stuff like that. Anyway, our build is very similar, so we're pretty much just going to talk about the synergies. So we have things like Excadrill and Aegislash to cover our fairy weaknesses, things like the Clefable, things like Grimmsnarl, which is pretty relevant. And we also have Rotoms for pivoting, so you have them to Volt Switch out into your Kommo-o in a good position, and then set up your Clangerous Soul at a time where your opponent would have to like switch out or do some weird stuff. And then we also have Wall Breakers, things like Bisharp and Galarian Darmanitan to take out things like the Toxapex, things that can haze you and get rid of your buffs, and things like Clefable and stuff like that are good. Pokemon that offend us are the ones that we just talked about. Offend us. Pokemon that are very good against us are things like the Toxapex, the Clefable, things that are very effective against us, as well as being able to just stop us from breaking their walls. Things like the Haze being very annoying and then just walling us out the entire game. So you want Pokemon that will be able to deal with those Pokemon and then swap in Kommo-o. Kommo-o is more of a positioning. It's not really a lead in singles most of the time, just because a lot of the time they'll be ready for that. So you'll have to position it in a good time to use your Clangerous Soul and then just sweep the rest of the game. And that's kind of the game you want to play with Kommo-o. Anyway, that's about it for our single spotlight. That's about it for this entire video in general. Kommo-o is a really cool Pokemon in singles and doubles. Can be a really good sweeper once you get really big with Clangerous Soul / Throat Spray and things like that. So anyway, we're at like 18.5 minutes, so thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, you mean so much to me. It's really awesome that you're enjoying the water bottles in the back. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. So if you like this kind of content, go ahead and like and subscribe. It means so much to me. And comment down below if you want to see any Pokemon in future videos, or if you want to see any kind of content in general. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.